No pipe, no well. Hasn't rained in 4 days. And yet look at that. Water dripping into a trough, slow and steady, like it's been going all night, because it has. That right there is drinking water, pulled straight out of the air. And it cost me $12 to build the thing that's making it. Now before I show you how to build this yourself, I want to show you something that'll make this feel even more unreal. Because somebody this week paid $5,500 for a machine that does the exact same thing. Same physics, same water. $5,500 versus $12. That gap is the whole reason I made this video. You cannot monetize air. You cannot put a subscription on Mesh and Gravity. That is the only real reason that price gap exists. Here's the thing. The physics behind a $5,000 machine is the exact same physics behind a $12 mesh frame. The atmosphere above your head holds 37 million billion gallons of fresh water at any given moment. More than every river on Earth combined. And when air meets a surface cold enough, that water has nowhere to go but out. It condenses, turns liquid, and drips. What you're building is just a large surface for that to happen on. Big mesh, angled into the wind. Gravity does the rest while you sleep. Now let me show you both ends of this, because the contrast is the point. The source hydro panel uses solar power to actively pull moisture from the air, even in a desert at 10% humidity, producing half a gallon to 2 gallons of drinking water per day. It is genuinely impressive engineering. But it shuts down completely at freezing temperatures and runs you $5,500 to $6,500 installed. If that number just made you mentally close the tab, good. That is exactly where we're going next. Here's what you need. Shade cloth mesh, roughly 6 feet by 6 feet. The kind at any garden center or hardware store, about $5. Get the tightly woven kind, closer to a window screen than a volleyball net. The denser the weave, the more surface area for condensation to form on. The mesh is doing all the real work here, so don't cut corners on the weave. 4 sections of 1-inch PVC pipe to form the frame. $2, maybe less if you scavenge. The hardware store will cut PVC for free if you ask. Zip ties. You've probably got some in a drawer somewhere. A plastic gutter section for your collection trough. $3 or $4 at any hardware store. A few bricks or rocks to prop the angle. Total $10 to $14 all in. If you already have zip ties and bricks, you're at $8. No tools required beyond whatever it takes to cut the PVC. I'm going to show you how to scale this up to produce enough drinking water for a family of 4, entirely from air. No bills, no infrastructure. Let's keep going. Build the frame first. 4 PVC sections into a rectangle, roughly 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide. You're not building furniture here. It just needs to hold its shape and take some wind without collapsing. Zip tie the corners if you don't want to deal with fittings. It'll hold fine. Now stretch the mesh over the frame and pull it genuinely tight. Think about how a drum is made. You want that same uniform tension across the whole surface. Then, zip tie at every 6 inches along every single edge. Not just the corners. Every 6 inches. Here's why that matters. Loose mesh means water pools in the sag instead of rolling down to the trough. And pooled water evaporates the second the sun comes up. You collect almost nothing. The tension is everything. Now here's the one thing most people get wrong the first time. And I know because I got it wrong too. They lay the frame flat on the ground. I did exactly that on my first build. Woke up at dawn, excited, went out to check the trough. Almost nothing in it. The mesh was damp. The water had pooled in the sag, sat there, and evaporated the second the sun came up. One whole night wasted over 30 seconds of setup. I'm telling you this so you skip that lesson entirely. Tilt the frame at an angle between 15 and 30 degrees, like leaning it against a wall at a shallow pitch. Every single droplet that forms on the mesh now rolls downhill on its own, reaches the lower edge, and drops into the gutter waiting below it. Set the gutter directly under that lower edge. If you want to run a short tube from the trough into a storage container, go for it. But it's not required to see this work on the first night. Placement matters more than it looks like it should. Face the front of the mesh directly into the prevailing wind. You want air moving through the material, not around it. Walk your yard at dusk and feel where the breeze is coming from. That's where the frame faces. Get it off the ground at least 1 foot. Air near the surface is drier and warmer than air slightly above it. And keep it away from wherever morning sun hits first. You want every drop that formed overnight still sitting in that trough when you come out at dawn. Set it up before sunset. Come back at dawn. That's the whole routine. In average conditions, moderate humidity, temperatures in the mid-50s. No fog, no rain. A 6x6 setup gives you roughly 1/10 of a gallon overnight. Before you move past that number, think about what 1/10 of a gallon of bottled water costs you at a gas station, somewhere between 10 and 15 cents. Dry. The setup just produced that for free, in the worst possible conditions while you slept. That's the floor, not the ceiling. In coastal areas, river valleys, anywhere that sees morning fog roll in, people are pulling 1/4 to half a gallon from a frame this size in a single night. Scale the mesh up to 10 feet by 10 feet, and the math changes completely. A family of 4 needs roughly half a gallon of drinking water per person per day. Build this right in the right climate, and you're covering that entirely from air. No bills, no infrastructure, no asking anyone's permission. Before you drink it, run it through a simple filter. Atmospheric water is actually pretty clean to start with. It hasn't touched the ground, hasn't run through soil or pipes, so it skips most of what makes surface water complicated. But it can pick up particulates from the mesh over time, or trace pollutants if you're building this in an urban area near traffic or industry. The fix takes 5 minutes and costs about $3. Take a plastic bottle, cut the bottom off, flip it upside down so the neck points down, layer materials inside from bottom to top, cotton first, then activated charcoal from any aquarium shop, then a layer of fine sand, then a final layer of cotton at the top. Pour your collected water through from the top and let it drip out the neck into a clean container. That's your filter. It handles particulates, absorbs most chemical concerns, and adds maybe a minute to your morning routine. If you want to be completely certain, boil it, cleaner than tap water in most places. Here's the part that keeps sitting with me. The Incas, the Canary Islands, Bronze Age sites in the Negev Desert. People have been pulling water from air for thousands of years. Then, indoor plumbing arrived. The tap worked, and the old knowledge quietly sat on a shelf and gathered dust. $5,500 brings it back with solar panels and a smartphone app. $12 brings it back with mesh and gravity. I don't know what brought you here, preparedness, off-grid living, or just curiosity at 2 in the morning, but it doesn't matter. It works either way, and now you know how.